Hello everybody and welcome back to part 2 of the Kingdom of Yargin Hargin. In part 1 of our video, we were able to cover our shipyard, our main bridge, one of our farms, one of the markets, a tavern, a very unfortunate unaliving of a good friend, the months of work it took to mine, as well as one of our wizard towers with roots that come out of the ground to look like a tree. But now it's time to start showing you guys more of the kingdom. That being said, before we get into the video, my name is Dimov, this is my best friend Titus, and welcome to the channel. If you like the content, please give a like and subscribe. After posting the first video, I realized I showed you guys how Titus found the location for the Kingdom of Yargin Hargin, like so. But then I realized I forgot to actually include the video that shows you how you enter the kingdom. See, if you remember this picture right here, you'll notice there's a tiny inlet between the ocean and the lake, and so after mining and drowning numerous times, we were able to make it deep enough for the second largest boat in the game. And then I proceeded to dock it without a single issue, of course. And now I'm stuck. But do not fear, it only took like 10 minutes to get out. See? Easy peasy with no hitches, and then we sailed right into our shipyard. By the way, this is what I had to do to get the shot before entering the city. Enjoy my pain. So I wanted to back my boat up so I could give you a good view of the kingdom as I approached, but turns out trying to go forward again after backing up takes a while. In my mind I was hoping this is what was happening and at any moment I was about to take off, but instead it just took about 5 minutes and I finally made some headway. Alright, now let's get into part 2, but before we do, here's a sneak peek of a few of the things that you're going to see. I'll go into detail for each of the structures, as well as show you a couple of the hidden gems around the base. Alrighty, for the very first structure we're going to look at will be the coliseum. Now you may look at this and think that I planned it out, but I had no plan going into this coliseum at all. My second one I had a much better idea. For this one we basically started by flattening the ground, putting a log in the middle so that we could extend out logs every single direction to know how far we wanted to go and to create an actual, circular structure. I knew I wanted a way to enter for the gladiators, the spectators, as well as the king and queen. When entering, if you go to the left or right up the stairs, you'll enter to where the spectator seating is. And if you took the hallways instead, you would end up where the king and queen sit. I also want to mention that at this time, I did not have the technology for iron beams, and so this whole thing is put together with stone and wood. But at the end of the day, it created for some pretty fun fights in this arena. Right in front of the Colosseum, I wanted to have an area where it looked like gladiators would be practicing, or at least two different sides could fight against each other before actually entering the Colosseum. And on a fun side note, here is an actual working sundial, and yes, as the sun goes along, you can actually go through each of the different times. I did put the original Nordic language in there, and I just think it's a fun little touch to my city. Now it only seems fair to go to my second Colosseum after showing you guys the first one, and oddly enough they're actually the exact same size on the outside, but the actual fighting area on the inside varies quite a bit considering the boats need more room. When entering the Colosseum on the left and right, you can actually get off and walk around inside of it, as well as take a full boat through the actual center. And if you want to see the king, you can see him right here. There he is. Now, although I haven't renovated the inside of this Colosseum, you can see that there's a lot more room, and that's because I use steel beams. Now, as you can see, there is a lot less seating, unless I guess you wanted to watch from the inside, but there are actually stairs leading to each of the seats. This next building makes a little bit less sense for its location, and that's because it's a lighthouse, but there didn't used to be a Colosseum in the water, and so there was a large gap of water in between the entrance of the base and actually where our marina is to the left of the lighthouse. This was also the first time that I wanted to experiment with building stairs on the outside of a building and seeing if I could protect them with the roofs so there wasn't any rain damage, and it worked out. Now many of you may have noticed the cluster of chests sitting right underneath the lighthouse, and that's because when I built 90% of this entire kingdom, it was before creative mode existed. And so you'd see little old me running around with carts that weighed like 2,000 to 3,000 pounds, trying to take them upstairs, and I almost never had stamina because all my time was spent crafting opposed to actually making my survival. And so when trying to go upstairs, you would oftentimes have to run back and forth like this until you got up them, wait until you get stamina again, but it was a struggle, yet we made it. And so I'd load everything up in those chests, and then I would go back and get more. Once I felt I actually had enough materials to make the building, then I would actually, well, start the construction, but that's after I would maybe do, I don't know, 10, 15 of these trips. Also, as you can see, I just walked maybe 100 feet. I would have to take these thousands of feet. Looking back at the marina next to the lighthouse, you can see I made different slot sizes depending on the boat. Thankfully, it's enough for almost every single boat except for the brand new one that goes to the Ashlands. But it's a fun little area, and I think it adds a lot to the village. Now, this might be confusing having a boat on land, but if a giant wave comes in while you're placing a boat down, you can put it on land. There's also a store down here called Mary's Marina Mart, which makes sense considering if you've seen my market, almost every single name starts with the same letter. And the last building is just a small hut. I was still experimenting with the new walls and structures that they added to the game at the time, but I mean, it still adds to the marina. And moving on to the next building, we're going to be looking at my Church of Eikthyr. If I said that correctly, I hope I did. Now, if you're just looking at the church, it does look like it's quite demonic. The red eyes that are right there, as well as the pasture having red eyes, don't exactly seem too welcoming, and the black marble doesn't help. But if you look beyond all those negatives, and you just look outside, the actual trees and nature that we added are beautiful. Just try to avoid the satanic rituals that might result in something like the movie Antlers. Now here's a fun little part of the base that you might have actually already seen, but not actually noticed. You see, this actually used to be an animal farm right on top of the regular farm right below. But the problem is almost all the creatures in the game scare each other or want to fight each other. So you can't exactly put them in pens next to each other or else they freak out. Especially lox, because they destroy your base. Now, we used to actually have quite a few lox, and we still do, they just don't stay at the base anymore. Instead, they're in living conditions that I would rather not show. But we did have lox of love, lox of anger, and loxosaurus. You can pick who you think did the most damage to the base. Now, the reason for the animals being at that location was because I built a small tunnel right behind it, and that tunnel would lead all the way up right next to the coliseum. Problem is I didn't have the structure stability at the time to build into the coliseum without it all falling down. So I built this little wraparound, but unfortunately with the animals not working, my dreams of having a Roman coliseum with people fighting animals never came to fruition. Alrighty, the next building we're going to look at is a very important one that Valheim players know. It's a portal base, and that is a place that you're going to keep all your portals to teleport all around the world, as well as keep all of your loot from your adventures. Although it may be tiny, hidden throughout the entire base is actually 24 black metal chests, which is more than enough storage for anything that you'll ever do in the game. Now, right next to the portal base is an armory. I was wondering how I was going to make this, and I eventually actually resulted with an outdoor idea, which is not what I ever thought an armory would look like, but I actually really like how it turned out, and it adds to the portal base. Over here I've been working on digging out the water, and I'm thinking about putting a small village with little huts on each side, and then it even has access to the outside of the base, although it is not far from the main entrance. And last but not least, we're going to look at the Great Wall of Yargin Hargin. For this wall covers a vast amount of area on the map. Crazy enough, this picture doesn't actually include the full wall that encompasses the entire city. Instead, the wall starts at the left side of the lake right here, goes northeast, and then comes back down southwest over here. That's going to be all for part 2, but if you enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. As always, I'm Dimoff, this is my best friend Titus, and welcome to the channel Dimoff Gaming. Have a great day.